Hi, I'm Milla and welcome to another Milla's Gaming video. In this video I'm going to talk about my top 10 PlayStation Vita games. So yeah, I don't talk much about the Vita on here, so it'd be nice to give some attention to the underrated handheld masterpiece that is the PlayStation Vita. Anyway, please look forward to the top 10, and if you like it, what's what I do, please like content, comment, subscribe, etc. and so on and so forth. Thank you very much. Number 10, Danganronpa Trigger Happy Havoc. This is a classic murder mystery visual novel set in a rather unique dystopian high school setting. The twist here is that in order to graduate, participants have to basically murder each other and then get away with it. It sounds simple, but it's a lot more complex than that, and I really liked it because of how unique it is. This game is a really unique blend of this dark, gritty story and this really light-hearted anime aesthetic. It's kind of like a juxtaposition, if that makes sense. Likewise is this blend of visual novel sections, the 3D detective gameplay segments where you go around and find clues after someone's died, and courtroom battles in the end where you have to spot the lies and contradictions in what other people are saying. And it's iconic, an important part of Spike Chunsoft's library. And it all started in English on the PlayStation Vita, a classic VN that's not to be missed. Coming at number 9 is Taiko no Tatsujin V version. Another console, another Taiko no Tatsujin game, so that doesn't sound very different, right? But this version heavily leans into music from video games, anime, Vocaloids, which is right up my street. And that's one reason why it's in my top 10. You have tracks from the likes of Freedom Wars, Nihon Falcom games like East and Trails, the Hatsumiku family of Vocaloids, and many more different sources. Plus you get everything else from outside the game's anime Vocaloids like in the usual Taiko game. And yeah, I love it so much, especially when you put headphones on and play with Bluetooth, which is really cool. Taiko will always be a classic in my book, and if you have a Vita, you can't go wrong picking this up. It's on the cheaper side and will likely be for a very long time. An English fan patch does exist for this game too, so although it never released in the West, you don't need English to have a good time, but the patch is there if you want it. Coming at number 8 is Utawa Rumono Mask of Deception and Mask of Truth. So these are two games I've put under one because this game is basically one game split into two, and these games are overall incredible. These are visual novel, strategy RPG hybrids set in this beautiful world with incredible music, deep character development, and so much more. These games are quite long, but they're quite, really well worth the payoff, and it makes them incredible. Mask of Truth in particular is among my favourite VNs of all time, with lots of feel scenes and sadness in a good way, as well as epic battles. The only reason these games aren't higher is because Mask of Deception has a lot of padding, and I feel could have worked better as a shorter game, and the 3D segments on the Vita version don't look as good as they do on other platforms, and there are frame rate dips as well. So, although I played them on the Vita, I'd recommend getting these on PS4 or PC now, especially because they'll be cheaper now, because it's a Vita. But you can't go wrong with its visual roots, because Utawa Rumono has had a history of appearing on handhelds such as the original PSP and Dokapon Up on the Switch, and yeah, I can't recommend these games enough. Number 7, Muramasa Rebirth. So this game has never really had a chance to shine. It's an enhanced port of Muramasa the Demon Blade that originally came out on the Nintendo Wii a long time ago. This version has enhanced visuals, an improved localization, DLC campaigns exclusive to this release, and probably more things that I can't remember off the top of my head. Like all Vanillaware games, the art in this is incredible as you go through historical Japan, defeating various enemies, collecting demon blades and swords, exploring these temples and shrines and ghost places and these beautiful cornfields and more throughout these two included campaigns. It's not a long game by any means, it is among the shorter games on this list, but it's absolutely worth your time, and this version is still exclusive to the Vita, and hopefully one day will get ported, but until then, it's on the Vita. Coming at number 6 is Sharon the Wanderer, the Tower of Fortune and the Dice of Fate. It's a roguelike RPG from the Sharon the Wanderer series, which is basically Spike Chunsoft's own little arm of the Mystery Dungeon series that they created, so alongside the likes of Pokemon Mystery Dungeon, this is their own original IP, and this 5th game sees Chiron, the protagonist with the sombrero, and his protagonist Copper, like a talking seal-like creature, I'm not sure, and he goes to climb the Tower of Fortune to find a Dice of Fate to like answer the question, can you change fate, especially after an encounter in a village. So it's basically another adventure where it's all about the gameplay, not so much the story, but that's okay. The dungeons are randomly generated, the combat is can be really brutally hard at times, and has a beautiful sprite style, like it looks phenomenal. This game got the balance right between accessibility and fairness to me, so just forgiving enough to be accessible and playable, but unfair enough to carry that signature roguelike flair, so you're getting the most well-rounded experience. So, definitely recommended. Coming at number 5 is The Legend of Heroes Trails of Cold Steel 1 and 2. So much like the Mask of Deception and Truth games, this is another like one massive game split into 2, which is quite common with Falcon with these Trails games lately, but that's beside the point. These games are the first time I dug into like a Falcon game, and especially the Trails series, and I love them so much. The core theme here is, they reminded me a lot of what JRPGs are meant to be about. So like a grand story with memorable characters, a well-developed battle system, and in the case of Cold Steel 2, it was a lot more open-ended than the first Cold Steel, and I really liked that, especially when you get to know this cast of like Class 7 and the other NPCs in this world. It's incredible, like the music too. These games are now everywhere at this point, and for good reason. I'd suggest, like other games here, get them on other platforms because it's got like the Turn Rewind accessibility aid, so wholeheartedly recommended. Coming at number 4 is Tales of Hearts R. So a lot of people are like, oh wait, there's a Tales game on the Vita? Well, yes, there are 2, but if you only consider localized releases, this is the only one that's got a release in the West. And that's fine because it's great. You play as Core, who goes out into the world to rebuild like the shattered heart of Kohaku, which is another one of the protagonists, after an incident with a mysterious witch in the first few hours of the game. And I remember being so excited back in the day for this, as it would be my first Tales game, as it was on the Vita, and I played the Vita a ton at the time, and it was so worth it as I loved it to pieces, and it was a fantastic game. It is a low budget remake, and there are errors in the translation, which are things people will talk about it when this game comes up, and that's understandable, but where it really shines is its gameplay, this action RPG battle system, which is familiar to action RPG fans, with the character designs and the actual characters themselves are great, with a nice development, and I really liked it. Same with the music, and I really hope it gets ported someday, because until then it's still exclusive and it's absolutely worth getting a Vita for, and I recommend it. Coming in at number 3 is Null 9 Var Commons. This is one of Otomate's classic Otome games, and it's one of the first non-Hakuoki Otome games we got in English, and this is a romance-oriented science fiction Otome game with a very unique setup. So you start as off playing from the perspective of a young boy who then gets whisked away from the modern era to another world, and then after the intro you can change the perspective to one of 3 heroines, and of these 3 heroines, they can romance 3 guys. And in total, there are 3 heroines to choose from, and 9 guys. So each heroine can romance 3 of these 9 guys. And it's really unique, and I really, really like that. And this is before considering the epilogue that ties the overarching story in nicely, as well as some side stories and other stuff. The routes are shorter than a lot would expect, but I personally prefer that because it helps make it more short but sweet, and I like that. Compared to if it was something like Hakuoki or Diabolic Lovers with like 13 guys, which is fucking ridiculous. So in comparison, I vastly prefer this. The characters are great, the setting is interesting, and the overall experience is incredibly memorable. And out of all the Otome games I've played at the time, this is my favourite to date, and I really hope it comes back someday. At the time, it is still exclusive to the Vita in English, and given that Amnesia has been revived for Switch after all these years, I'm hoping Idea Factory will come back and re-release Null 9 on Switch and PC. A port does exist in Japan, so I hope it happens, fingers crossed. But until then, if you're into Otome games, this is by far the best one to get that's still exclusive to the Vita. Coming in at number 2 is Persona 4 Golden, which, considering this is a top 10 list of Vita games, shouldn't really surprise anyone who knows what the Vita is that this game's on here. So I'm not going to go on too long about the game itself because, well, most people already know. Anyway, all I'll say on it is I love this game. It's an essential RPG in any game library across all platforms. It's absolute joy to play from start to finish. You'll be playing it for a long time with such great characters, a great story, really good gameplay, and just this immersive world that you really grow attached to over time. And I wholeheartedly recommend it. Coming in at number 1 is IA-VT Colorful. This is a Japanese exclusive Vocaloid rhythm game starring the IA Vocaloid. It's basically what would happen if you took Project Diva and combined it with this voice bank, and I love it so much. Like, the music selection is excellent, the songs are really catchy, the aesthetic is so vibrant and, well, colourful. Gameplay wise, it's also a lot easier than Project Diva, which I actually prefer because it means actually getting all the songs done on a hard is something I can actually do, which is really cool. The game is very import friendly. You don't need Japanese knowledge to play it. It's import friendly, much like Taiko. Although with this one, half the menus are actually in English in the original Japanese release, which is incredibly cool. There is also a fan patch for this as well, which is, you go much like Taiko, you don't need it, but if you want to use it, it's there. This was one of the first games I ever imported, so it will always have like a soft spot in my heart because it was so fun to just immerse yourself in this different, this world of imports and other things like that. I hope one day we get a proper sequel to this game on like the Switch and PS5, etc., because the Vocaloids absolutely deserve it. It's incredible. Hopefully with IA as well as 1, which was basically a whole like second Vocaloid, like kind of sibling canonical thing. I'm not really sure what it is, but it's from the same company, so in theory it's possible. It truly deserves it. This game to this day is still Vita exclusive, and if you're in Japan or on import sites, you can still find it somewhat cheap, so definitely check this one out. So that's my list. Yeah, pretty cool list, right? I've got a few honorable mentions as well. Bad Apple Wars, which was like my first Otome game ever, and I still really enjoy it. Still Vita only. Not as good as Non 9, but you know, it's here and it's great and I love it, and you should totally check it out if you've got a Vita. East Marina Celceta as well, fantastic remake of a great game. And Oroshica Tainted Bloodlines, one of the most unique RPGs ever made. Definitely check it out if you've got a Vita. And get it once before the store goes down as well, because you know, Sony loves keeping their games available for the future, as we all know. Anyway, thank you so much for watching and listening to this ramble and about these great Vita games, and maybe there'll be something for you to play as well. Thank you so much for watching, liking, commenting, subscribing, etc. And thank you so much. Bye bye.